I'm Paul Bonner and this is my Unity Business Spotlight. I was always interested in pulling things apart mechanically, and I was always interested in motorcycles. So I ended up very young having lots of different motorcycles, and some of them were pulled apart and never quite kind of put back together correctly. And there was a lot of learning that kind of took place with all that. So I ended up going into the motorcycle trade. First of all, I used to work for Harley Davidson, and so it was quite interesting to get an American perspective on selling things. And they were very clear that people were never buying motorbikes for £15,000. The bike was for free. What they were paying £15,000 for was the experience, the Harley Davidson experience. In fact, the only thing that stopped me riding motorcycles was when my son came along, and then I instantly became aware of my mortality. And that was the point really that I got back into cycling. And then I realised very quickly that going 30 miles an hour on the road, on a road bike, was equivalent to doing 160 miles an hour on a motorcycle. I started simple things like commuting in and out of work on my push bike, which was 10 miles each way, and then kind of got, like most people, into the lighter, faster road bikes. What happened when I was working in the motorcycle industry, I slowly but surely worked in every department of that business. And so I was used to dealing with customers, used to dealing with staff, used to dealing with grumpy staff, which was kind of guys working in the workshop, used to dealing with kind of clothing experts, and actually it suddenly dawned upon me when I was about 38, 39, that actually I was running all aspects of the business and that the boss was nowhere to be seen. And so at that point I thought, actually I could do this for myself, but I didn't want to do it in the motorcycle industry, because at that point I was very much into bicycles, not motorcycles. And I was aware that I'd had now enough experience of dealing with all elements of a retail business that actually we could make this work. So we've had it for 6 years, the shop's been here 26 years. So in that time, obviously biking has become very, very popular, but at the same time, competition has become fierce. We focus on what we can do well, which is the customer service side of things, and we make sure that we've got the best quality products in. It's about listening to the individual needs, first of all. And then, of course, we want to gain some trust from that customer, that we've already done a lot of hard work in working out which brands are best and which brands would work therefore best for our customers. Then we can start to look at all the options from the few brands, because we don't do masses of brands, we do 4 brands very, very well. By focusing on slightly less brands, we can offer a better service, which is not confusing for the customer. But ultimately, what the bike is allowing the person to do is get out and enjoy themselves, and maybe forget work or whatever it is that they need to kind of get a few hours away from it. Generally either preparing the bike that's already in-house, because after all they come in a cardboard box, so we build them, PDI them, which is the pre-delivery inspection, make sure that they're pretty safe, and then make sure at that point it's ready for the customer. So the handover after the initial consultation is equally as important as finding the right bike at the beginning. So at this point we make sure that customers understand how they clean their bike, how they prepare their bike before each ride, how they prepare their bike after 6 or 7 rides, how it's important to get it back into us to make sure that we can service it correctly. It's more than just buying a bike, it's about knowing that we are there for the customer afterwards too. So it's a really exciting time to be riding a full suspension mountain bike, and those guys that come in and buy a bike who maybe had their last bike 10 years ago have really seen that it really is hardly related to the bike that they were previously on. So what does that mean in terms of ride? Well, actually it makes everything much more easy and much more fun. Road bikes, well, have become much, much more aero. The latest innovation on the road bikes has been the disc brakes, which is still relatively new, although we've seen it in the last couple of years. It's now just started to appear on the aero bikes. And for us, that's where most of the innovation is taking place. More aerodynamics, better braking, which ultimately makes for everybody to be more efficient on a bike. And I guess efficiency is the key word for any style of biking, whether you're a mountain biker or whether you're a road biker. Probably to strike out and do it for myself much earlier. it didn't even occur to me till I was about 38, 39 that I could be doing all of this for myself. And so you could argue, of course, that it was only the experience that I'd gained up until that point that allowed me to strike out on my own and was confident enough to do so. But in reality, I think I could have also have struck out that little bit earlier. So let me think. Do you know what? Climbing walls is probably a good one. I'm Paul Bonner, and this is my Bunity business spotlight. See, got to do it again now, mate. Okay. I'm Paul Bonner, and that was my business at Bunity. Brilliant, thanks.
Fantastic, man.
Well, I'll be really interested to see if you can muscle anything out.